Today, we mark a tragic milestone here in the United States. 1 million COVID deaths, 1 million empty chairs around the family dinner table.
Where we are as a country now with COVID is kind of a weird place where COVID is still circulating and it's still a risk and a public health issue, but it's not nearly as dangerous as it was back in the scariest days in 2020 and even early 2021. So the big question that remains is what exactly is the end game here for COVID? We have been in this pandemic for 2+ years now, and the Biden administration and state health officials are trying to figure out how this all ends. I'm Adam Cankren. I'm a White House reporter here at Politico. We're going to talk about the coronavirus and what it means for the country and President Joe Biden politically, from a social aspect, and going into the midterm elections. There is a tension between Americans and the Biden administration, frankly, that wants to get back to as much normalcy as possible over the shortest period possible. One of the difficulties that the Biden administration has struggled with during this kind of weird in-between period in the pandemic is exactly how to talk about it.
We're now in a new moment in this pandemic. Does not mean that COVID-19 is over. It means that COVID-19 no longer controls our lives.
So what they've tried to do is give people a sense that we're no longer in that kind of crisis period, but still not completely in the clear. And from a messaging standpoint, that's difficult. And you can take Anthony Fauci, who's the top infectious disease expert in the country, you can take him as an example.
We are certainly right now in this country out of the pandemic phase.
It's not that we're out of the pandemic, but we're out of the full-blown crisis pandemic phase where people really had to worry every single day, and into something that's more transitional. He then decided that he was not going to go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner, mainly because it was a lot of people packed indoors without masks during a period where COVID cases are still rising. And afterward, expressed some frustration on a private call that thousands of people, journalists, White House officials, senior administration officials, decided to go and attend that and be there, even though there is still like this public health threat hanging over everything. And at the center of that is the new COVID response coordinator, Ashish Jha, and he's had to balance those two aspects, the Fauci kind of side of things, of where exactly we are precisely with the public health, and also with the political imperative of wanting to make progress and be able to show progress over the next several months.
I am not overly concerned right now. We're coming off of still very low infection numbers. Hospitalizations right now are the lowest they have been in the entire pandemic.
There's a difficulty and a hesitance within the White House of coming out too strong, one side or the other. Things are really bad, things are really good, because nobody knows what could happen next week or next month, or even closer, from a political standpoint, even closer to the midterms.
The Biden-Harris administration will also going to lead, and we're going to lead with science and truth. We believe in both. This is how we're going to, God willing, overcome the pandemic and build our country back better than it was before.
We're going to let science lead mantra has created difficulties in terms of messaging. Everybody wants to follow the science, but everybody has different opinions on what exactly the science says. You have the political people in the White House and in the administration who want to declare as much victory over the virus as they possibly can. It becomes a greater kind of ratcheting up tension between those folks and the more maybe cautious public health experts who are always saying, look, we can't say this is over definitively. It could come back at any time and come back to bite us. One thing that Biden's advisors truly believe and have believed for the last several months is that Biden's approval ratings, which are extremely low at this point, are linked to how people feel about the pandemic, whether they feel like things are progressing, whether they feel like things are getting better when it comes to COVID. The majority of Americans say, you know what, we've been doing this for 2 years. It's time to just move on and get on with our lives. And that has influenced the administration in terms of where they go and to what degree they treat this as a public health emergency versus something that we're going to have to live with long term. It's very clear that the pandemic is, a top 3 issue for voters.